now sounds right up to here. Drink a good deal of it, make a good meal of it, stick to your old-fashioned beer. Now don't be afraid of it, drink till you're made of it. Now all together a cheer.
And once again, hello friends out there. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day you're watching this. This is Mark McDermott, your one-take beer reviewer and the Beeronaut.com, ready to pop open another beer and try to say something about it in just one take. And this is a combination of a couple special occasions. First off, this was going to be my New Year's Eve beer, but the kids resolved to stay up until midnight on New Year's Eve, so I spent the evening with sparkling apple cider instead of a beer, so that was all right. And second, this is celebrating the occasion of over 700 likes on the Beeronaut Facebook page. In fact, about 2 days ago, I just hit 700 and made a note of that on my page, and then someone immediately disliked me, so I made another mention of the fact, and I guess people rallied to my aid, and now I'm up to 708. Gosh, if I can only get each one of them to give me $5. Well, be that as it may. And so, this was a beer that was offered among many by the folks at Stone Brewing Company in Escondido, California. It's their series of, and let me zoom up here, of their Berlin groundbreaking collaborations. They are one of the first American craft brewers to open a brewery in Berlin, and in celebration of that fact, they did a series of collaborations with several American brewers at the Berlin facility. This particular one, which they offered, and I said, yes, let's send that one to me because everyone else is going to do Belgian IPAs and so forth. This is, in fact, a Black Imperial Lager. And before I go any further, I'm going to say this was sent to me in the deep, cold winter week last week, and it arrived frozen solid. Luckily, I just set it in the basement sink, and it warmed up and seems to have defrosted okay. But you'll notice it's in a strong champagne bottle, so it's meant to be frozen a little bit in the champagne making method, but if there's any extra yeast in there, it's either been killed or it's been reactivated. So and you can see the cork in here is very crooked, so it's ready to pop without my prompting. So let's get to this. Anyway, this is called Sticks and Stones. It is a collaboration between three of Stone's brewers in Berlin, along with Tommy Arthur of the Lost Abbey Brewery. And it is described as a black lager at, let's look at this as quickly as we can, 8.3%, so it's called a dark imperial lager, more precisely. And it's called Sticks and Stones because it was aged on wood chips in granite fermentation vessels. So that all sounds pretty fun, and it's also made with a German yeast strain. So what else can we say about it? Well, we're going to be very, very careful with this because I got a feeling it could take out some of these fluorescent lights above me, or some other hilarity will ensue, which is why we have the larger glass ready to put something in it. Try to get this over with because I turned off the furnace so we'd have a little peace and quiet here. It's always the fun with corked beers, and that hilarity could ensue, but let's be. But so far I've been pretty lucky. This is going to come out, yeah, nice and easy. No gusher, luckily for me. We'll pour a nice big glass here, if this doesn't fall over on me. And this is a glass that was sent to me with a six-pack of Weihenstephaner Vitus, which is a German Dunkel beer. That came about a day after the Stone beer came, and those were frozen too. Luckily, I've thawed them out, and hopefully none of them broke. So that's another dark beer for a large glass. And it does kick off a nice big, over 2 fingers worth of foam, as they say. Now, What I was concerned about is the possibility that the yeast might have frozen and been killed off, and I'd be smelling a lot of dead yeast in this, or it did not take off and caused the bottle to explode. But what I'm getting is a bit of a light lager smell. I've had black lagers, and there's really not like they don't smell like a stout. They kind of just smell like a lager, maybe with a slight bit of extra malt to it. And let's hold this up to the light, which I know the camera seems to keep readjusting depending upon which way I move here. But well, this is quite malty. Luckily, I do not get the taste of any dead yeast in it, so I don't know if it was even conditioned with yeast. That's only my assumption. You basically are trying to taste the alcohol the first thing up, because that's what you would expect with an imperial style beer, but this is pretty mild in alcohol, because it's not it's aged on wood chips instead of barrel aged. There's just a slight note of possibly oak to it, but it doesn't overwhelm, and it's not a bourbon barrel aged, so it's really a very nice and a pretty strong imperial lager. And I've had a few of them. Most of them are pretty interesting. This is not very heavily hopped, so it really lets just a nice malt and alcohol balance come through. Pardon me. So it's well, a pity. Maybe I can try to score some of the other beers in that series, but this is a pretty nice. A good mealtime beer instead of a dessert beer, and it's just like any dark beer you might like, except there's a lot more to it. Not a lot of roast to it, just some good malt, and getting a bit of German hop to it, but it's not a hop monster by any means, so it's very easy going, pretty easy drinking for something that strong. And once again, it is the Stone Berlin collaboration, and I gotta get the whole name here, of course, the Stone / Lost Abbey Berlin groundbreaking collaboration. That's how it's described here. This is the Sticks and Stones Dark Imperial Pilsner, finished on wood chips and granite. These have been coming out all throughout the year, and I think they kind of let us beer writers have our choice of maybe what was left over. So it may be available in your neck of the woods. Goodness knows, something from Stone is always worth checking out. So be sure to go find some, or find some other beer you like and tell me about it. And till now, till then, till later, till who's ever, this is Mark McDermott, the One Take Beer Reviewer and your Chicago beer guy at Beeronaut.com, saying cheers and Happy New Year.
Now don't